Okay, so thank you everyone for coming to this webinar. I will be asking you all to mute yourselves throughout this talk. And during the talk, if you have some questions, you can either wait or you can just directly type in the chat so that the speaker isn't interrupted. And after he has finished his slide, we can all have the discussion. Uh, I will start by giving a very brief introduction about our current speaker. Uh, so, Anjan Ghosh, he is a 1970 batch JBNSTS scholar. So, he's a very senior person to us all. And he has worked 23 years in Philips, India, and he was there in multiple roles, including consumer electronics and as plant quality head of lighting. Apart from that, he was a management. He worked as a management consultant, helping sectors to improve their productivity, efficiency, business growth, etc. for many years, and uh, so he did his bachelor's in physics honors from Jadavpur University in 1972. Then he did a BTech in electronics engineering, instrumentation and electronics engineering, again from Jadavpur in 1977. He did his MBA in operations management from Calcutta University in 1984 and PhD in strategic management, Calcutta University again, within 2001. So it's not a very linear academic profile which we see in which we're used to seeing in this academic field. So he has a lot of span in other areas as well. So yeah, he has been a senior member of the American Society for Quality and a Six Sigma black belt. So just in one line, Six Sigma is a set of techniques and tools for process improvement. And he has led more than 40 teams worldwide, 40 organizations worldwide to improve their output growth and all that. He has been the vice chairman of the CII Manufacturing Committee, advisor to the Bengal Chamber Center for Excellence, chief judge of the MSME Awards, which is an award that recognizes entrepreneurs and growing industries and growing small businesses, etc. That is based in India. He has been a writer in the science column of the Statements in the early 90s. He retired as the vice president of total quality management in Exide Industries. Apart from all these professional and academic sides, he has a keen interest in volleyball and basketball, and he represented Jadavpur and West Bengal even in his days. And more recently, he has expressed interest in Indian classical music as an enthusiast. And without further ado, I will ask him to start his talk.
Thank you, Subhadeep. So this is a very, what you call a very interesting topic also. When Debargo told me to speak on something, I said, okay, let me get together certain things, what I know, and about my experience and also I put in some slides and all so that we can just go along with the discussion. Now, as we know, that new opportunities are opening up for the Indian industry. A lot of things are happening. And as you know, that China, the manufacturing global giant, is being sidelined. And that is due to various reasons. You know, it's because of the COVID pandemic. They are being blamed that they have started it and not alerted the world. Then there is a rising labor cost in China. It is not cheap now. It is at par with other countries, if not more. And there are human rights violations. All of you know that it's a communist country. And there are a lot of curbs on your freedom. And of late, there has been a lot of problems with Uyghurs and Xinjiang province and all. And so it's not a very free society, and a lot of human rights violations are there, which the other countries are not looking very well, not taking it lightly. And of course, very recently, there is aggressive expansionism. We all know about the Ladakh South China Sea, East China Sea and all that. And there are trade and tariff wars. Because of all this, now the political and economic situation in China is not very favorable. So a lot of countries are thinking about pulling out of China, not to put all their eggs in the basket, same basket. And it has already started happening, and companies are already shifting or are planning to shift their manufacturing bases and supply chains from China to countries like Vietnam, India, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Mexico, and all that. So India is one of the probable destinations for global manufacturing hub. Some of the companies have already come, and there is a talk going on that more companies are to come in the next 2-3 years. And we have seen that the Indian government, present government, is also very keen to have all those companies, and a lot of support is being given. Ease of business, a lot of infrastructure is being built up so that these companies come to India. So a lot of opportunities have come. Now the thing is, it is the opportunity, you have to seize this opportunity. If we want to be the next manufacturing giant, we have to seize the opportunity and keep up to the promise. Now if we look at India as a whole, there are a lot of positives in this Indian industry and in the industry scenario. So first of all, if you see, India is one of the fastest growing major economies. And the target is we want to be a $5 trillion by 2024. This is what the present government is targeting. It is the 5th largest economy after US, China, Japan, and Germany. And it's expected to be the 3rd largest in the next 10 to 12 years. So a lot of promises there. India has the 2nd largest labor force, 520 million. It's huge after China. It is the 4th largest automobile maker after China, US, and Japan. Name the automakers in the world, automobile companies, and they're there in India. The hubs are in Bangalore side, Chennai, Pune, Gurgaon. So 4th largest automobile maker. It is the 2nd largest domestic market, 5th largest media entertainment, 4th largest for medical devices. The medical devices is coming in a big way. The 3rd largest pharma industry. It is the 2nd largest steel producer after China. In footwear, we are the 2nd. This is very important because a lot of companies in footwear, Adidas, Nike, and all that, they are having an eye on India. They are pulling out of China, may come to India. 2nd largest textile manufacturer and exporter. And a very notable thing that we have one of the largest defense budget, the 5th largest. And in the next 3 years, the Indian government is going to spend as much as $130 billion on defense. That's huge. It's a lot of opportunities. It is the 6th largest chemicals and paints industry, and it is the 3rd largest startup base. So a lot of positives. Now, something to do with ease of doing business. If companies are to come, we have to be capable of handling them. Now, if we read the World Bank report, ease of doing business, there is a report that comes out every year, and India ranks 63 out of 190. 63 out of 190. We will say that it is not a very good figure, but if we look back, it was 130 in 2017. In the competitiveness index given by the World Economic Forum, India ranks 68 out of 141. 68 out of 141, and it is down because it was 58 in 2018. So we have deteriorated. China is 28th, but this is based on so many attributes. 103 attributes are there. It's so many things that you have to see to get this score. Now the thing is, this rank 68. There are certain things we are doing well, which is come out from the report. That report, you get it from the net, no problem. So we are doing well in renewable energy. We are doing well in airport connectivity. We have very good research institutes. We have financing and startup of the MSMEs. Future orientation of the government is there. They have a plan, and there is a growth of innovative companies. Here we are doing well. These are the points. But where we are doing badly is that certain things which are, you can say, political, or certain factors have to be taken into account. So security and terrorism are one of the attributes. There we are doing badly. We will all know that there is a problem. Then there is a problem of land administration. There is, of course, a problem of infrastructure, health and safety of the workforce. People think that we have to do a lot in this. Skill of future workforce. We have a lot of skilled workforce. But what about the skill that is required for the future? So we are not doing very well in this regard. And there is a question mark about the IP protection. Because of this, our rank has come down. Then there is another index called the Global Innovative Index. And we rank 48. And we have come up from a position of 68 in 2019 to 48 in 2020. It's quite a big jump. And if we go at this pace, maybe in another 4 or 5 years, we may break into the top 10, while China is 14th. Now, this innovativeness index, it is broken up into economies. Now, it also deals with the what type of economy you are. Now, innovation is such a thing that if you see the high income group, it is more visible. People come out, they can put their ideas into innovation. But in countries which are poor, the poor people, the people from the rural parts, they may not have the means to bring forth their innovation. So it is not apple to apple comparison. So if you look at the lower middle income group, India stands third, because a lot of innovation goes on in the rural things. Poor people don't have access to innovation. So a lot of ideas do not come out. So a lot of support has to be given for these ideas from the people to come up to the innovation level. So there is hope for us. Now, if you see the pros and cons of Indian industry, there are a lot of advantages. We have a large, young, skilled workforce. Then there is the labor cost is low. One of the factors that is in favor for us is the English speaking. We have a huge workforce which understands, speak, write about in the English language. It has a vast domestic market, and we have abundant natural resources. Abundant natural. You call it coal, you call it oats, you call it water, everything is there. India is also centrally located. This is an important thing. If you see the trade routes, most of the trade routes are by the sea, and India has access to the Indian Ocean. Now China, if it has to bring things from Europe, it has to pass through the Indian Ocean, through the Straits of Malacca, all the way around. So there are talks that the Straits of Malacca they want to secure. That's why they want to have their own ports in the South China Sea. But India has got an advantage in this. It is centrally located on that trade route. India is the biggest democracy. It has a good judicial system. And the Indian managers are well versed in hard and soft skills. They are tuned to handle adversaries. And there is an IT backup for Industry 4.0. Now 4.0 is the new type of industry, which talks of robotics, artificial intelligence and all. So we are already moved into Industry 4.0 from Industry 3.0. 3.0 is only computerization. So 4.0 is robotics and artificial intelligence. So because we have a very good IT backup, we are geared for migrating to the Industry 4.0. But there are challenges also. Of course, infrastructure facilities is a challenge. Labor productivity is low. Economies of scale is low. China makes in the millions while we make in the thousand. Now there are very complicated compliance and labor laws. There is a lot of bureaucracy and corruption. There is inefficient supply chain. and the level of MSME is not up to the global standard. The competence is not high, which has to improve. If we have to go global, and there is low R&D spending. So there are positives and there are negatives. The more we take care of the negatives, the better we are prepared. Now, if you take a look into this slide, this shows a comparison between different countries. Now, this is from a report called India's New Opportunity Report, made by the Boston Consulting Group with CII and AIMA. And this was made in 2005-06. Projection for 2020. Now, if you look at this graph, you will see India is in a very favorable position on both the axes. One is the projected workforce, which is the y-axis, and the people strength, which is the x-axis. Now, China, will see, is in the first quadrant. Why? Because it is an aging workforce. Because of the one child policy, it is an aging population. So in another 10 years, they will be short of labor. So India is in that advantage because we have a very young and very skilled, educated workforce. Now, if you look at what percentage of GDP agriculture, manufacturing, and services split up into, there is a comparison of 3 countries, India, US, and China. If you look at this table, you will see agriculture and allied, means agriculture, forestry, fisheries, poultry, and all that. It makes up only 15.4% of the GDP in India. Manufacturing, mining, construction, utilities, etc., they make up 23% of GDP, and services and ITES make up 61.5%. And the figures in bracket talk about the employment. So 53% of our workforce is engaged in agriculture, 22% is in manufacturing, mining, construction, 25% is in service. Now, out of the whole of manufacturing, mining, construction, only 16% is in manufacturing. So manufacturing is not the strength of India right now because it is only 16% of GDP, whereas services are 61%. Now, if you see the figures for China, you will see that it is 42% because it is the manufacturing giant, the manufacturing global hub. So if we have to be a manufacturing giant, the share of GDP for manufacturing has to improve. So government is taking steps to increase it from 16 to 25 at least by a thing called Make in India concept and all, startups and all. So our manufacturing is only 16%, whereas service is 61.5. Now, as we are interested in manufacturing, our focus should be here that we are not in a very good position because we are only 16% of GDP in manufacturing. Now, what are the ways in which the Indian government is trying to support innovation? And manufacturing means innovative things has to come. We are not manufacturing for now. We have to manufacture for the future goods, which are all tech savvy and all. So we have to support innovation. Now, what are the things that Indian government is doing to support innovation and support manufacturing? So there is a program, must have heard about it, Make in India, Startup India, Digital India. So a little bit about this. A lot of things are being done. So there is an initiative called Agni, Accelerating Growth of New India's Innovation. It is a program under the Prime Minister's Science, Technology and Innovation Advisory Council. So Agni is a platform which is helping industry to grow. Then there is a mission called Atal Innovation Mission, AIM, to promote the culture of innovation and entrepreneurship. And under Atal Innovation Mission, there are a lot of other things that are being done. One is called the Atal Tinkering Labs, which is a catch them young. So innovation, how to support innovation. So schools, government schools have been targeted. They are giving money to build labs The idea is to catch them young so that they build innovation from the school. Then there is the Atal Incubation Center. Startups require mentoring. So incubation centers, and these incubation centers will also look after capital. They will also look after industry partnership. Then there is a Atal New India Challenge, which creates products from existing technology for social causes like water, health, hygiene, and all that. And there is also another thing called CIC, Community Innovation Center. These are meant for tribal areas, Northeast, Tier 3 cities and all. So this Atal Innovation Mission is doing a lot for seeing that innovation rises in India, and indirectly it will help the manufacturing sector. So Startup India is for new businesses. Digital India, you must have heard about this. Digital India is to propel India into the new digital age with smart cities, connectivity, 5G networks and all. It includes banking, it includes other transactions also. It will be paperless. So these initiatives are already on, and a lot of progress has been made on this. Also, you must have heard about the TSIR, which gives R&D support. Now, finance is always a problem. So there's a Technology Development Board, which is providing soft loans. Then, biotech is a big thing. So Biotech Industry Research Assistant Council, which is called the BIRAC, it is also giving much support to startups, incubators, the academia also. And there is the IDBI Bank is old. Then for small industries, there is the SIDBI. And under SIDBI, there is a India Innovation Fund. A lot of money has been put in. 10,000 crores has been put in for that innovation fund. And focus is being given on MSMEs. Now, MSMEs will also be one of the backbones of Indian industry. Why? Because you will see that MSME, these micro, small and medium enterprises, they contribute 30% of GDP and 40% of exports. So it's quite large. It is having a lot of say in the GDP. So MSMEs have to be in focus. And a separate ministry has been created to give it focus. Now, a micro, small and medium, the definitions have also changed, because if you see the second column, investment in plant and machinery was something like 25 lakhs and all. It has been increased to 1 crore, 10 crore, 50 crore, so that now MSMEs can invest in technology, invest in machines, invest in materials and people, in their infrastructure, and still fall under micro, small and medium and enjoy all the benefits. So this positive step has been taken. There are various schemes. There are subsidies and credit supports. There are entrepreneurship and skill development, upgradation programs. Then a thing has started called Lean Manufacturing Competitiveness Cluster. This is a new thing. I worked on this with 10 MSMEs. Now this thing is that MSMEs don't have money. They're quite small. So instead of the consultant going to one of them, you make a cluster of 10. So the consultant goes to all 10 twice per month and takes the cluster as a team. So the cost gets equally shared. And 80% of the cost is given by the government of India. So this is a very good scheme. This LMC scheme, the unfortunate part is it is a lot of MSMEs are not taking this opportunity, maybe because they do not know because of this. But the cluster that I took up, it ended last year. This 10 MSMEs, their competitiveness we could increase, and we could do a saving of about 65 lakhs. We could save, they're very small, 65 lakhs, quite a lot to them. We taught them a lot of things about technology, about how to do business and all, about the quality management and all. Then incubation centers are being set up. And there is another program called Z, which is the zero defect, zero effect, because the Modi government is talking about zero defect, improved quality. At the same time, zero effect means you also save the environment. So it is called Z. So a lot of support is given for MSMEs. Now, how many MSMEs are there? Now, if you see, in 2019, there were as many as 633.88 lakh MSMEs. It's a huge number. 633.88 lakh MSMEs in India. And it employs 1109 or 1110 lakh employees. It's a huge number. So MSMEs are also providing employment to a huge amount of people. Not only are they providing 40% of the export and 30% of GDP, it is also providing employment to 11 crore people. Now, if you see this graph, this is the breakup of the MSMEs per state. And you'll be surprised to see that West Bengal comes on the second after Uttar Pradesh. So West Bengal is having 88.67 lakh of MSMEs, which is a huge number. But the problem is, this is a surprising statement, but it is true. But the problem is that a large number of MSMEs are either dormant or they are struggling. Not all of them are profitable. They are struggling. They don't get the markets. They do fits and starts. If they get an order, they will open up and do something and sell, and they'll close for 4 or 5 months, again get an order like this. So so many lakhs, 633 lakhs, many of them are not operating continuously. So they are struggling. But the numbers are huge. And the revelation is that West Bengal is the second. Now about Make in India. This Make in India is really catching on. It is a very good initiative. The intention is that to transform India into a global design and manufacturing hub. So it is an invitation to the world to come and manufacture in India. You can sell anywhere, but manufacture in India. So if this catches on, why not? We can be the country after China to be the global giant in manufacturing. And there has to be a transformation. And Make in India has taken the route of transforming through new processes that we have to do ease of doing business. So people should be comfortable in doing business in India. So instead of having 68, we should come into the first 10. Then infrastructure is a problem. So infrastructure we have to look at. Then the third one is that the new sectors, we have to open up new sectors. And as you know, in Make in India, 25 sectors have been opened up for FDI. And FDI can go up to 100%. So these 25 sectors are in auto components, they're in biotech, they're in chemicals, healthcare, defense, electronics, energy, space, and all that. So 25 sectors have been opened up for FDI. And a new mindset has to come. Now the government from a regulator has to become a facilitator. So this Make in India is going to transform India. That mindset has to change, processes have to change, infrastructure has to come, and the whole ballgame will change. And there is another thing in the Make in India, this is called the offset policy. Now, defense, because defense is a big thing now, they are going to spend $130 billion. So, if you are a foreign defense organization and want to sell in India, you have to spend 30% of the contract value with an Indian partner. 30% of contract value with Indian partner, or you make a JV. So either you have to procure components or you have to set up R&D facilities. So infrastructure will improve, employment will improve. And through this, right now 21 contracts worth $6 billion has already happened, both in the public and private sector. So this offset policy is a good thing about Make in India. Now this is a snapshot of the FDI flow. You will see it has a rising trend over the years. This year it is a little bit doubtful because of the pandemic and all. We are yet to see. But it is heartening to see that FDI is flowing in. Now, a little bit about, we talked about MSME. The other thing that people must be interested in is the startup. So there is an initiative called Startup India. And the Startup India is to build a strong ecosystem for nurturing innovation and startups that will drive growth. Now, India is the third largest, we said, in startup ecosystem. And you'll be surprised to know that in 2018, there were 50,000 registered startups, more than 50,000. Out of that, about 9,000 are technology driven. Now, JBNSTS people must be interested in technology driven startups, so we will concentrate here. 9,000 technology driven startups are there. Out of this, 24 are unicorns. Now, unicorn is a rare animal. Unicorn is a term which is used for a startup whose valuation is $1 billion. So already there are 24 unicorns in the Indian startup ecosystem. And in 2019, 1,300 new tech startups have come up in India, which is the fourth largest in the world. It's quite an encouraging figure. 1,300 new tech startups are there in 2019. And it is estimated that by the year 2025, there can be 100,000 startups in India, which will create employment for 3.5 million people and $5 billion. So startups are one of the ways to generate employment and to spearhead this manufacturing initiative. Now, Startup India has got three pillars. Very interesting. Why this action plan that has been done, it talks of three things. Any of you, any people who are going to do startups has to note these three things. One is the simplification and handholding. This was a big problem. Everybody is saying about the bureaucracy and corruption of India. So things have to be simplified. Handholding has to be done. There has to be easier compliance. Also, there has to be an easier exit process. Now, all startups do not become unicorns. In fact, most of the startups, they fail after 5-6 years. So there has to be an exit process. Legal support has to be given. Then the patents are there, but patents are taking a lot of time in India. So the fast tracking of patents. So we have to simplify and handle for the startups to succeed. The second problem was funding and the incentives. So a lot of tax exemptions are there now in Startup India, a lot of tax exemptions. And there are a lot of funds to infuse capital into the ecosystem. So if there was a problem in funding, if there is a problem in venture capital, it can be eased because a lot of funds have been put in. And there is also a problem of incubation. Now I may have an idea. Now I cannot put it into an innovation and start manufacturing. So I have to get hold of an incubator. That means will handhold me and make the project viable. So these incubators, many incubators are there. So these incubators have to increase number of incubators and their capability has also to improve. And there has to be a focus on the industry-academia partnership. Now this industry-academia partnership we have been hearing from since I was a student in Jadavpur. I'm hearing for so many years, but still it is still in a very nascent stage. Unlike the USA and other European countries, industry and academia are not very close together. They go their separate ways. They are not having a lot of projects and all. So a lot of focus is being given in Startup India about this industry academia partnership. Very recently, I know that the IITs and NITs have been taken as one of the hubs for industry academia partnership. A council has been formed that how this industry and academia can come closer together for having an incubator as for the startups. And a lot of events are happening, a lot of competitions and grants are being given by the government of India so that startups can flourish. In fact, in the Rashtrapati Bhavan in the month of March, a big exhibition is held where startups come to display their products and to talk about the innovations. And a lot of people come, and there are prize awards for that also. So it is also being seen by the President of India. He also goes around the stalls. So a lot of things are happening in this startup. But sad to say, the intent is there, but there are success stories. But unfortunately, 90% of startups fail after 5-6 years. This is the reality, and they fail because of different reasons. One of the reasons is flow of funds. One of the reasons. So maybe it can be taken care of by the new system. Also, there is a problem of startups only going for some routine type of products and services. It's not innovative. It's not a disruptive business model. There is a problem with the ability to grow. Startups do not ramp up. Unless you ramp up, profits don't come. You are caught in that vicious financial cycle of repaying. Then there are managerial shortcomings. Now it is not only knowing your product, it has to have some managerial background also. You have to manage your business also. Some soft skills are also required, some apart from the hard skills. And there was also a problem because this has come out from some reviews of the startups which failed. They wanted to copy the foreign startups. So the foreign startups, the setup in other countries are different. The market situation is different. Infrastructures are different. So if we copy foreign startups, what they have done, and do the same in India, it will not click. So we have to have our own setups. We have to have our own models. So these are some of the reasons why so many startups failed. And I was having a talk with a very well-known startup consultant in Bengal. He was also lamenting that in Bengal also, he's an advisor to the government of West Bengal about startups, that startups come up with a lot of innovative ideas, but because of their managerial shortcomings and because of the mismanagement, they are not able to flourish, and within 3, 4, 5 years, they close shop. So the success requires pretty much a large risk appetite. Now, if you are not having a very large risk appetite, startup is not for you. Now, in our times, in the 70s, when we passed out as engineers, our lookout was for jobs because the startups and all was unknown to us. And entrepreneurship was not looked after. Our parents also did not encourage us to be entrepreneurs because we said that we don't have money to seek jobs. But now things are different. But still, you have to have a very large risk appetite. You have to handle risk. You have to take the risk. If you cannot handle the risk, don't go for startups. So it requires more courage than IQ. Now, you may have a very brilliant idea. You may be very innovative. You have very high IQ. But if you don't have courage to stand up and you don't have perseverance, then it's a problem. So perseverance is there. You have to stick to it. First year, nothing will happen. So second year, third year, fourth year. So if you have crossed 5 years, at least you will stand up and do something. And the timing is also important. So these are some of the success requirements of startups. Now, what are those sunrise sectors? I thought that we should discuss this also. What are those sectors which are good for startups? Now, one of the very important sectors that are coming throughout the world are electric vehicles. And all of us know that because of this, oil is going to finish off in another 15, 20 years. All are going for electric vehicles, and it will be a new technology. Whatever we see cars now, all will be gone. A different type of propulsion system will be there. Batteries it will run on. The batteries will be different, not the lead acid batteries. Lead acid batteries are very heavy. It has acids and all. It's not good for propulsion. Then we look after new types of batteries. Say maybe lithium ion. We are talking of now lithium ion. That's the only good battery now for electric vehicles. But there is a question mark about lithium ion. And all of you who are in this chemical or this industry or done studies on this, you know, lithium is a rare earth, not like lead. It's a rare earth, very difficult to obtain, very costly. And there is no recycling procedure for lithium. For lead acid battery, lead you can recycle and reuse. Lithium you cannot recycle, reuse. This technology is not yet known. So once the lithium ion battery is exhausted, you have to throw it and it will be e-waste. So in no time, in another 10, 15 years, lithium will be depleted. So then next what? So different batteries, vanadium pentoxide batteries, we are talking of silicon dioxide batteries, then you're talking of fuel cells. So this type of new batteries have to come. So this innovation have to come in batteries for electric vehicles and also for charging system. Now the battery has to charge. Now for the lithium ion, the cars will run for 70, 80 kilometers. Now you have to charge. It takes about 7, 8 hours to charge. So there has to, just like fuel pump stations for filling petrol, there has to be lakhs and lakhs of charging systems. And people have to just come in, they charge for 10 minutes or change their batteries and drive off. So fast charging systems. So you have to be on the lookout, design new charging systems, new batteries. So this is one sunrise area. Agricultural food processing, how to use less pesticides, how to preserve food. This is one sunrise area. Biotechnology, India is one of the third largest in pharma biotechnology. So this is the sunrise sector. Then we talk of healthcare products, medical devices, renewable energy, alternate fuels. Hydrogen is being talked of as an alternate fuel. People talk of biofuels and all. So renewable energy, wind power, solar. We can also use tidal. So alternate fuels is also one sunrise industry. One of the things that is catching up or is in focus is aerospace. And very recently we have seen reusable launchers, the SpaceX of Elon Musk. It can be reused. In astronomy, a lot of telescopes are going up, a lot of space station, and there is talk that different countries will now put space station, about satellites, and all that. So aerospace and astronomy is one sunrise area. Yeah, ISRO is a success story, and around ISRO, so many hundreds of companies are in their supplier list, in their value chain, including MSMEs, including startups. Then the other sunrise sectors are artificial intelligence. We're already into it. Virtual reality, self-driven transport, construction engineering, how to speed up construction, use less materials. Then recycling of e-waste. E-waste is cleaned earth. E-waste is much more dangerous than chemical waste and air and water pollution because e-waste never biodegrades. So earth will be filled with all types of heavy metals. So if we can make systems, if we can find out ways to reduce e-waste as well as to recycle e-waste, that is one sector which will come under focus. Then the other sector are new type of materials which are recyclable, which are biodegradable. They are strong yet very light. One of the candidates you must have heard about is graphene. Is one of those candidates. So new materials is a sector where new innovation is going to come. And in knowledge management, it's a big thing, knowledge management, education. So these are some of the sectors that are in focus, which innovators have to look at. And I'm sure that many of JBSPDF scholars are already working in these sectors or would like to work in these sectors because these are the sunrise sectors. Now this is in a snapshot. I've been able to give a scenario about the Indian industry, about pros and cons, and what are the initiatives that the Indian government is taking to see that companies come to India. And as of now, there are a lot of companies which have come to India as an alternate to China. And there is talk. There are some reports which say that 30% of the Chinese manufacturing may be shifted out. 30% of Chinese manufacturing may be shifted out in the next 2 years. And that is huge. And if that 30%, it will increase to 40 to 50% in the next 3 years. So there is a lot of opportunity. And that's why I say that Indian industry is in a crossroads. It is for us to grab these opportunities if we can. Our future is made. If not, it will be another case of missed opportunity. But I am sure, I am very optimistic that with the advantages that we have and the innovation that we have and the initiatives being taken by the government, that we will surely try to take a big pie in the manufacturing, global manufacturing sector. And a lot of companies have already come and they have shown interest, but still remains that it is up to us to see that we take care of the opportunities. And statement I am making, I am sure that Papi Edu will also share the statement that JBNSTS scholars can shape the new India, which is called the Atmanirbhar Bharat. We have been, and JBNSTS scholars, I am sure, have to lead this new transformation for the new India. So wishing the JBSTS family all the best till we meet again.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anjan Ghosh. This was a very nicely written and very informative discussion, seminar or webinar. So I have some questions of my own, but before all that, we already have one running question in the chat, and I think I will allow everyone to unmute themselves now so that we can have a proper discussion. Okay, so now you guys have the permission. Why don't we start with Rama Rathi? If you are here, can you just unmute yourself and ask the question you wrote in chat?
I can't see the chat box, so please repeat the question.
Okay, so I was hoping Rama could just unmute. Yes, why don't you go ahead and ask Professor or ask Dr. Anjan Ghosh the question.
I don't have much idea about startup, but it is really so fascinating to me. So I want some guidance. I mean, for beginner, how they can think about startup and how they can gradually, step by step, go further. And which are the more growing fields? Because as you have told that 90% of startups are got failed nowadays. So in which field we should think about our startup?
Yeah. So why it fails? Also, I have given some reason why it fails. Now, one of the things is startup is not easy. It is much tougher than landing a job. Landing a job is easy. Now, startup, you cannot start up a company all on your own. It is not possible. Now, how does startup go? You have an idea. Now, that idea is not innovation. Innovation is something, some idea, then that idea goes into what is called invention. Now, that invention will remain invention, a theory, unless you put it into commercial use. So from invention to innovation is the big jump. Now that invention, for example, I'll tell you, all of us have read about this pressure cooker. This steam, that if the JBNSTS scholars, all of us have read in school, that if we increase the pressure, temperature goes up. That is the theory of pressure cooker. Now the pressure cooker, did our grandmothers use pressure cooker? Never. My mother also never used pressure cooker. They used kadai because pressure cooker was not there. But this invention of the pressure cooker was there 150 years ago. A prototype was made, but nobody commercialized it. So like this, you can have an idea. From that idea, you have to do a prototype and invention. That invention now has to be commercialized. But how do you commercialize that invention? So you have to take help of certain experts. Who are those experts? They are those incubators. Incubators are companies, are organizations, even the government also. You can now, the incubators are in the IITs and the NITs, the government have set up. You go to these experts and they will guide you. Oh, this is your invention. Now, how do you propose to use it? How does it work? Can we see some examples? And if they see that is this invention or this the prototype that you have made can be manufactured, can be sold, then they will guide you. If they think this cannot be manufactured, it's only theoretical, only one or two can be made, no use in starting having a startup. So startup means you have to have a company either for the product or for the service, because JBNSTS scholars would like manufacturing a product unless it is a software, it is a service. So you have to go to these incubators. They will find out the market. Is there a market for this? If you want to make it, how much it will cost? You have to source material for it, from where you will get. They will work along with you for about 1 year to try to make up a model to make it successful. Otherwise, if you land up with making 10 of them, you can sell only 2 of them. 8 you cannot sell. You will land up at a loss. So startup has to be done not by only you. You have to go to incubator and to the experts. Either it is some IIT incubator or private or something. There are a lot of incubators. If you go into this net, you will find a lot of incubators. You go to Startup India website. This is a very rich website. In Startup India website, a lot of names of these incubators are given. And if you approach them, they will sit with you and handhold you to see the feasibility of the project. Unless the project is feasible, do not start startup. You will end up losing money. So after having a feasibility study, you have to do a test marketing. You have to do a small market, because if you are manufacturing, you have to have a setup. No, you have to employ certain few people. You have to have some manufacturing process. You have to have materials. So it is not easy. Now, first year you will struggle. But if it catches on, and if it is an innovative product, it is not there in the market, then you are a winner. And you have to slowly ramp up. You don't start off with 100 employees. You have to start off with 10 employees. And you don't start manufacturing in thousands. You manufacture in 100. See the market, and then do correction. There are a lot of defects. There are a lot of problems. So how to correct them? So it will take 2-3 years to stabilize, and you have to be patient. You have to persevere for that. Profits may not come. In fact, you will hardly break even. But the government will support you, because there are a lot of funds and things which are given that they will not ask you to pay back. And there will be a lot of concessions. Tax exemptions are there. You don't have to pay taxes for 5 years. So like this, you have to build up your startup. So it is not easy unless you are very confident and you are willing to take the risk. But if you have a winning product, if you have a very innovative product which you are sure is not there in the market, it will be a winner. And that winner can be earth-shaking, I can tell you. It can be a unicorn. Anything can happen. So it depends on what is that product or service, what is that feasibility study you have done, how much homework you have done, and do you have the patience to take it along. Now startups, you will see that this was not there 10 years back. This support was not there. Now the support is there. Even if you have to exit, even if you have to make losses, you will be cushioned, because there are exit clauses. So this is one area which the government is taking care. Okay. So you go to that website, Startup India.
The first step of startup is invention, right?
First is your idea. First of all, before invention, you have an idea, no?
Yes, I mean idea.
Idea means, say suppose in healthcare. Now you see that for this COVID, this pulse oximeter. Everybody is after pulse oximeter. Pulse oximeter, what it measures? This is measuring the saturation, oxygen level in blood. Now, 20 years back, it was a big machine, and you had to take blood, and you have to find the saturation by titration and all. But now it's a small one, like a small 2 inch by 1.5 inches, and you put your finger in, it will give you the what is the saturation. How does it operate? Does it take your blood? Does not take blood. So it has been found when blood flows through your arteries and veins. If you put a pulse of infrared light from one side of your finger, that infrared light will transmit to the other side. And the transmitted light depends on the wavelength of the light and the oxygen concentration in the blood. So somebody invented that. So the percentage of oxygen in the blood changes the wavelength of that infrared light which is transmitted. So with that scale, they did experiments and they calibrated it. So if this is the saturation, this will be the wavelength change. This is saturation. So then next they transfer. Then it's electronics, nah? Then there's software and electronics. Then they transfer into percentage. So you get 98%, 97%. So it is a brilliant invention. Now that invention, how do I innovate? Now that has to be manufactured. So you have to manufacture, you have to have that plastic case, you have to have that infrared sensor, you have to have that display, you have to have a manufacturing setup, you have to have IC chip, and you have to have a small circuit board and all that. So you go to an incubator and ask them, they are experts. Maybe that incubator, a professor is also attached, a doctor is also attached. They will give you guidance on that. Now, pulse oximeter, the companies who have made this pulse, who have manufactured this, there's Omicron and all those Chinese. They are multi-billionaires now because everybody wants them in the house. Now, 2 years back, nobody wanted this pulse oximeter. It was there in the hospital, one pulse oximeter. Now every household has it. So that startup who manufactured this, they are now billionaires. So first you have an idea. So in your, JBNSTS scholars have a lot of ideas. But from ideas, you have to go to an invention. You have to make a prototype. Now this prototype cannot be manufactured. No, its prototype is one. So for that, innovation labs have been built. Innovation labs. You can make a prototype in this innovation lab. There are people to guide you how to make 10 prototypes. If you don't have a prototype, make it in their lab. They will allow you to make it in their lab. So now things are easier. So just can't go and have a startup. You get some idea and start a startup. Nobody will fund you because you don't have a product. It is not feasible. So a lot of hand-holding has to be there. A lot of homework has to be done. The first year will only be planning. Second year will be just some minor manufacturing and test marketing. Third year you will start selling. Fourth, fifth year you will stand. Maybe from the sixth year you will make profit. But if you have a very good idea, there is no holding you back. And I'm sure that JBNSTS scholars have a lot of ideas. They are good inventors. But the thing is, it is not only the invention, it has to be commercialized. That is also required.
Correct. Thank you for that brief. That was a really nice brief. Rama, I hope your questions are answered. Do you have any further clarifications needed? Rama, do we still have you?
One more thing. I'm just asking that I'm a student of MSc first year chemistry. So what I can think about startup from the chemistry stream?
Now see, chemistry, what we studied in the 1970s and the chemistry that you are studying now is vastly different, but the fundamentals are same. Now only chemistry, if you restrict yourself, there will be certain opportunities lost because now chemistry has got a lot of different fields. One is biochemistry. Now this biochemistry leads to biotechnology. It leads to bioinstrumentation. Now these are the fields which are people looking into. Now bioinstrumentation is a huge field. Medical devices, as that pulse oximeter I told you. Now, if you see doctors, all the instruments that doctors are using, many doctors are there in JBNSTS, I am pretty sure they're very good doctors, but they may not know about how these operate. They are not also, need to know also. But if you ask doctors, they will say, if I had this thing, it will help in my diagnosis. If I had that, that will help in my diagnosis. So taking the need and requirements from doctors, these instrumentation engineers, these bio-instrumentation engineers, they have to work out the devices which they need.
Correct.
Still, lot of instrumentation is required in your ophthalmic also. I have some doctors, my friends are doctors in ENT. Now the ear is a mystery, the human ear is a mystery. And they say that there are many things we can't access all. Inner ear is inaccessible. What goes on inside the inner ear, we don't know. Now heart we can understand. We have echocardiogram, we have ECG, and we have this what is called that angiogram and all. But inside the ear we have nothing, because the things are so minute. You can't do echocardiogram. So what goes on in the inner ear, we don't know. So can we have some type of instrumentation, so by which we can know what is happening inside the inner ear? So like this, only chemistry means you can't invent a new chemical. Of course you can invent a new organic material. That's why I said material science. Material science is one of the new areas. Now I talked about graphene. Now graphene is one of the wonder materials. It is strong and also light. And graphene is available, plenty available. Now people are talking of certain exotic alloys which are very strong yet light. Now aeroplanes are made of duraluminium, very light but very strong. Still further, you have certain alloys which are stronger, much stronger than steel. And now there is a talk that you mix natural things with these materials. Natural things means, I will give you an example. Spider silk, the spiders, cobwebs. These cobwebs are spider silk. Now the spider silk is 5 times tougher than steel. 5 times tougher than steel. JBNSTS, I took some classes in some schools about natural materials. And hardly many of us know that if you make a rope with spider silk, which is 2 millimeters in diameter, it can lift up a ship. It is so strong. So if I can inject spider silk, the organic molecules which are there in spider silk, with some alloys, and amalgamate them, that alloy will be super tough. So tough that it can make aeroplanes, it can make ships, it can make ropes, it can make so many materials which will never break. And it is so tough. So chemistry can also give rise to certain materials which are new type of materials, which are extra strong, extra durable. Also, it can be biodegradable. There are certain materials which are biodegradable. Now, most of the materials are not biodegradable. No material is biodegradable. Rust is not degradable. Rust only is a ferric oxide. So, in chemistry, as you are saying, you can, if you invent a new chemical, the world will be at your feet. Now, of course, you have to have that ideas. You have to have that innovation. You have to have that knowledge also. So materials are a new sector in chemistry, as you are saying now. Organic molecules. In fact, from chemistry, you go into antibiotics. So antibiotics are nothing but chemical organic substances, So every 3 years, you have to have new antibiotics. Now these molecules go on changing because there is mutation of this bacteria and these viruses. So your chemistry will lead into antibiotics and pharma. So these are interdisciplinary subjects. But if you land up with a new chemical the world is looking at, the world will be at your feet.
I see. Okay, so we have a raised hand. Smriti, why don't you go unmute yourself?
Yeah. Hello, Dr. Ghosh. So,
Yeah.
as you had said, a startup is not just about inventing, there's a lot of hand holding to go. So, I was thinking, how necessary or rather useful would you say is doing an MBA course to get the idea of the whole process for somebody who is
MBA
not in that background?
Right. Because one of the reasons I said, no, one of the reasons is managerial ineffectiveness. Because you may be a brilliant scientist, but the thing is, startup is a business. If you cannot manage people, and if you cannot manage your efficiency, if you cannot manage your cost and your funds, you will end up as a failure. So being a brilliant scientist is only half of it. After that, you are a manager because you have to look after the business. So doing an MBA may help you. It will definitely help you. But do not think that MBA is the end all. Coupled with MBA, you have to have certain other things like that. You have to have that vision. Your product has to be innovative. That means if somebody can copy your product, and if it is just a commodity, the startup is not required because everybody has it. Your startup will fail. So first of all, you have to have that scientist in you must be there. That product or the service has to be there. Then MBA might help. But there are, of course, there are brilliant scientists who don't need MBAs. They don't need MBAs because MBA is common sense. I did MBA, but it was a cakewalk for me. The science was more important. It was much more difficult than MBA. MBAs anybody can do, and anytime you can do. So it might help because see, after all, it is a business. You have to hold on to the business. And see, not only it's that startup involves not only you. Startup also involves other employees also. You should look after that also. You are employing people. And your startup will also have your ecosystem. You may have your suppliers also. So that suppliers will 10 suppliers. 10 suppliers will be another 40, 50 people who are dependent on you. Your employees are dependent on you. Your family members are dependent. So you have a total ecosystem. So success has to be there. Otherwise, this whole ecosystem, it fails, it will be a problem for all. So managerial effectiveness is also required. MBAs may help, but do not think that sacrificing my scientific knowledge, I go for MBA first. No, your scientific knowledge must be paramount. You have to guard your IP. After doing that, your MBA will help out. That you can try.
Thank you. Yeah, I got it.
Anjan, I have some.
Yes, ma'am, please continue. I think you have muted yourself.
Anjan, what we did,
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
we applied for some patent. It takes such a long time. You never know whether it will come or not. 5 patents, and I have not seen them coming up. They don't let it go. They say, yes, it will come. It will come. That is one thing very good. Another
Which
thing,
will come? Which will come, you're saying? Which will come?
when we applied for patent,
Patent,
and others, they were asking questions. Is it possible for you to start, something that they can send their ideas to you and you can help them to say whether it is possible or not?
What I can do, I can get them in touch with incubators and people who are in startup because I have never done a startup, so I have not been through the grind. I have only knowledge about that, how to do, but I have never done a startup. So I have people who can guide you, who can tell you what to do. That much I can do, but I cannot be
that by itself is a very important connection.
I cannot be an incubator because first of all I don't have the organization to be incubator. Neither have the total knowledge about the legal things and all. But I can guide them to people.
That's all right. If you can get in touch with the right person, that will help a lot. Because these kids are asking MSc first year. They don't have any idea where to go, how to do it. You can help them there.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea. And just on this note, just one note on this. we also had one event by Dr. Prithviraj Banerjee back in August. It was very specific towards creating startups from the PhD work or research work which students are doing in their student phase. So it's on YouTube, and the link will be in the mails and the Slack group. So those who are interested, please do check it out. It's very specific for students going out of academics and entering startups and starting their own businesses.
Anjan, your lecture was fantastic. You gave so many good ideas, but again, you have to hold their hand to take them out.
Thank you.
So regarding the startups and the presentation, I just had 2 points, or rather 2 questions that I would like you to broaden upon. So you emphasized on the importance of the ideas and innovations and the teamwork that goes into creating a startup and get it functioning. But you also highlighted how important it is to have a way to get out of it if it loses track or if it gets too difficult to control by you and your team. So in your experience, and that has been a very wide experience of so many companies over so many decades, what do you think are the promising exit procedures which help in smooth closing of the startup and moving away from it into a different line?
Now, we should not be pessimistic. First of all, we should be more interested in opening. There are government is taking care of that, because if you close it, what happens? The problem is fund. You have to repay back the money. So there are a lot of cushions that are being given by the government, and there are slowly you can repay and all. There are schemes for that. So those schemes are there. You have to talk with the bank or the venture capitalist. The fund flow will also be designed like that, so that you don't end up with a lot of capital which you don't require. So those things are there. Your exit policy is quite sound now, but still there will be some damages. Will always be there. Or your failure, others cannot be blamed now. So you have to pay some penalty. But previously it was a disaster. It will not be a disaster. Slowly you will have to be winding up, and also those things are there. So those can come later on.
So what do you think is a good, let's say, years to keep in mind? So if I want to create a startup, I should have to give my full effort for at least these many years. So what do you think that number should be?
2-3 years minimum.
2-3 years minimum. And for generating profit out of it, so you would say more than
fourth year. Unless these are the common things. Unless you are something which is, you call it the double star, something which nobody has thought about. It is a high demand, and you start making profit in the second year. But these are very rare events, very rare.
And somebody has to get very lucky in finding
luck also plays. Yeah, luck also plays.
Yeah. So that was one aspect of it. The other aspect was from the discussions also, it was very obvious that chemistry is a very important subject, that a very valuable knowledge set of chemistry is good for startups, and also knowing how economy is working and everything. All these are very important. In your experience, what is the success rate of companies that have based their work only on, say, mathematics or statistics or physics, as in not completely oriented towards product-based work, as in not as in biomedical applications directly, but more of a different kind of psychological or physiological startups. Have you seen anything like that?
Yeah. Byju's is knowledge management. Byju's.
Just like Byju. Yeah.
So knowledge management is one of the areas. E-learning.
Yes, of course.
E-learning has caught up.
Yes, so taking the example of Baiju, how many of these have you seen in your work experience, and how many of these do you think can be set up readily and easily? Like, they won't be a grand idea. Like, Baiju is not a very grand idea. The idea of education is one of the oldest ones, but they are still startups and they have reached their success. So how would someone who wants to, say, utilize something like this pitch their idea so that it is received by the, say, the incubators? It won't be a groundbreaking idea, but you still want to pitch it so that you can create a startup, and it might have a potential, maybe not a groundbreaking potential. So what would your advice be to someone?
Not many. I have not seen many, because see, this e-learning and all these knowledge portals and all, say only said 2-3 years it has started. We were accustomed to chalk and blackboard.
Correct.
So this only started 3 years ago. And now it has picked up because of the pandemic. Everybody is going to knowledge management.
Yeah.
In fact, now I have somebody who is doing machine learning education, e-learning. Machine learning is a very in-depth thing, na? So and there are takers for that. Many companies and many people are taking services and all. So it is here to stay. So, but there are not many examples because it is a very new thing. But knowledge management definitely is one of the sunrise areas, knowledge management, because the industry 4.0 and all the things that world is going through, knowledge is one of the things, is your asset. Knowledge is your asset. So how you protect your knowledge, how do you disseminate your knowledge, how you improve your knowledge, sources of knowledge, this will be a big thing. Whether it is through e-learning or through apps or through your archives or whatever, it will be a big thing.
So just on, as an ending note, since we are also, we just have 6 minutes
I have a question.
Yeah,
I have a question. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, thank you, Dr. Ghosh, for your time and for giving the talk, and also thank you, Papia ma'am, Papia Di, and everyone else who has joined. I have a few, like maybe 1 or 2 questions, essentially based on what you also mentioned in your talk, where you said that for example, that industry and academia partnership, which you have been hearing from your Jadavpur University days, which was, let's say, 1970s.
Back in the 70s, yeah.
And it's in the nascent stage, which is like, almost 50 years hence. The other thing is sort of stemming from the question that when Ramarathi said that she is a first-year chemistry student and what can be done in terms of chemistry, which is definitely a valid question, but you also tried to make it evident that we should not restrict ourselves to chemistry or a specific subject that we take the formal education in. To my perspective, having studied in India and to some extent now in the US, the difference in the mentality, I think, plays a big role. Where, for example, whoever, like the majority of people who get PhDs or higher education degrees, masters or PhDs, the majority goes to industry, and that's not looked down upon. That's actually very that is sort of the norm, and that is a very competitive way of living life. Compared to that, and that could be slowly changing, but I think that mentality still exists. That if the higher degrees I get, if I am doing a master's and then a PhD and going for a postdoc, the natural, I would be expected by my society, by myself, that I'll necessarily go to academia, else I'm a failure, or I'm not as much worth. At this point, let's say at 2020, do you think there should be dedicated ways of training people, changing the mindset of people in an educational setup? Let's say at universities, or let's say in addition from on behalf of JBNSTS or JBSPDF, we can sort of encourage people that it's time. This is the right because of all these schemes that are initiatives taken by the Indian government, we can, as innovators, we can be leaders in this and sort of form the industries, not shy away from industries. One, and the other is also from the question that someone asked, whether MBA is important, and also in your talk when you said that in addition to the science, it is very important to have the managerial skills, the soft skills associated. So even if not necessarily doing an MBA, like Elon Musk doesn't have an MBA, or many successful entrepreneurs don't have an MBA. But I think it is necessary to have some guidance, some training in soft skills. So may not be necessarily a degree program towards that, but some of the most important aspects that you think can be supplemented to a usual professional curriculum as in engineering or chemistry or physics, biology, or at least on behalf of JBSPDF, we can, for our community, as we can sort of think of these things. What do you think?
Right. It's true. Now, see, as you said, Devargo, that this industry academia. Now, in all the IITs, all the NITs, this industry academia partnership is being strengthened. But see, one is the intent. The other is the really what is going on. I have got some experience with IIT. The speed has to increase. If you see, suppose somebody goes with an invention idea or something to do something, there is an entrepreneurship cell. In fact, entrepreneurship is a department now in IITs, which are going to look after startups, who are going to handle you. But still it is theoretical. In fact, if you want to do something, you want speed. No? You don't want to sit for 3 years. You want to do it in 6 months.
Right.
Now, because of I would say the mindset, because of the background of theoretical background, they are brilliant people. But because they do not see the essence of time, they do not see the urgency that these are also required. Maybe it takes a backseat. Right. Say if something has to be tested. Now it has to be tested, and whether it is good or bad or okay or not okay, it has to be given 7 days. But it takes 3-4 months the report to come out, and you have to go and chase. So that's why that I said that Make in India, the mindset has to change. That urgency, which is there in the USA or somewhere, about this academia to look after the problems of industry. Still, something has changed. It is improved, but I would say far more improvement is required in the speed. That speed is also important. Not only the knowledge.
I really agree with that point. Yes.
So unless then you become you become frustrated. Then you give up. How many days you can go and sit with them? So okay, things are being done, and there are entrepreneurship cells and all. There are departments which are teaching this. In fact, you can enroll for a course on entrepreneurship. There are online courses also. And as I said, the schools are being encouraged, innovation labs and all. The children in class 9-10, they are encouraged to tinker with all the instruments and all in the lab to get ideas and all. So the platform is there. Now, how fast we change that? We have to change that. We know that we have to change. But the speed of change has to be much more rapid. That's true. And both are to come closer. It's not that academia is not going to industry. It's the opposite of our industry. The industry that does not believe academia, that's another problem. So there is a big problem. Machines are breaking down. So that the managers think, oh, I am an engineer. Why should I go to IIT? What they know, they only teach theories. I will solve it on my own. So let me try my own things. So industry is also having some type of drawback to go to academia and give that problem. So unless they both come together, it's a win-win. So both has to come together. I cannot blame academia only. Because industry is also having, they don't go. They're reluctant to give the problem. Those are theoretical people. They'll only give me some high-flown maths and all, they will try to solve integral calculus and show me that. So problems don't go.
Yeah, I guess one of the
Fantastic.
inherent reasons for that is traditionally over the last, let's say, few decades, let's say 10 years back from now, the majority of the people who went to industry were they preferred not to, or essentially the distinction was made at an academic level that I am going to academia, so I belong to a different group of people, and I'm going to industry, and I'll never talk to academia. But so if someone from industry wants to reach out to academia and vice versa, they need to have that mutual respect, and I think that that will come if there is a free flowing between them. So, like you said, the mindset needs to change, and if it is done from an early on, like we grow as we are taught. So if we are taught similarly that it's worthwhile going into industry, especially at this point, and I think because like JBNSTS, our evaluators have tried to find some of these talents together. So I think from this pool, at least we can have this, maybe form a small consortium where if you have time, we can reach out to you and have some guidance, and you can show us your network. So I think there would be people who more so in the future who could be interested in that.
Right.
And benefited also.
Right.
Yeah, so just on this point we were discussing just now, there's a comment from Rishiraj Kaur, and he said that one of the main reasons that industries don't take up PhD people, or rather they don't want to take up PhD people, is because PhD people at first don't want to get into industries to begin with. So I think this mindset needs to change drastically, and I hope talks like this can be one way of doing that. And let's see. And if nobody else has a question, I just have one more, and then we might conclude. Okay. So the last question, which I had from your talk again. So startups are not always coming from innovative ideas, right? Like the one which, say, of knowledge management, that's not a very innovative idea. It's always been there, but some companies have been successful and some haven't been. And of course, it's not a one-man's game. Like you have to have at least a group of people who know other people and can create the connections for you, or help you in the aspects which you are not well trained in yourself. So what kind of companies, or would you, or like not incubators per se, who are providing fundings, what kind of other schemes or other, say, companies are there who are willing to provide a workforce to your startup so that you can proceed a little further? Like you have an idea which you want to test out, and say you have secured some funding from some incubator, but now you are lacking manpower, and say you don't have any idea of who the people are who can help you out with setting up the organization. Are there
incubator will guide. Incubator is supposed to guide.
That is okay. So the incubator
will guide. Yeah. Funding
so
is
they're not
later
just
on.
for funding. Okay, so they're not just for funding.
No. Okay. Incubators are there to take your idea forward. The funding is the last stage. Unless it is feasible, they will not fund you. It is you don't get a fund and then start. No, you see the feasibility. It is feasible, then funding comes.
Yeah,
because
so
if you get the funds, what will you do with the funds? No.
Correct. Now it makes more sense to me at least. And I guess on that note, we thank Dr. Anjan Ghosh for his time. I thank you all for your time, for joining us. And I think this has been a very good discussion round. And thank you, Anjan Ghosh. We look forward to your participation in our future events. And we'll keep everyone in the loop for other events like this which we organize. Not all will be on startups. and not all will be on academics or industries. We will have a mix of them, and please stay tuned. On that note, let's.
I'll just add something.
Yeah,
to I would, since it seems that there is interest in the JBSPDF community for having startups. I would request Dr. Ghosh if you can more actively be a part of our Slack workspace, and if you need help, we can guide you and sort of help you be part. Then everyone else, we can probably even start a channel there, and so you can probably we can have questions that you can answer, and at some point other senior members we can probably have them as well. But if you're willing, then we'll be very happy to do that, and I think there is already an audience for it, so we'll be in touch with you soon.
A dedicated channel there will be useful for a lot of people. We have channels there for PhD positions or internship positions and all, and people are starting to get active there as well. So I think this startup channel will also kick off, and hopefully it will be use of the community, and we can utilize it to its fullest potential. And so thank you everyone again.
Okay.
So,
thank you so much. I enjoyed.
Good evening to you all, and hope you have a good night as well.